So we come to the third question. What is practical knowledge? Aristotle believed practical knowledge provides standards for moral activities. As previously mentioned about moral virtue, living according to rational standards. But there are many rational standards in scientific cognition, technical production, daily activities. Reason provides standards. Even in games like chess, reason establishes rules. Therefore, we must clarify the standards reason provides for moral virtue or moral activities. What are its characteristics? How does it differ from other standards? To address this, Aristotle divided rational knowledge into three types: scientific knowledge, technical knowledge, and practical knowledge. These seemingly abstract terms actually originate from daily life. Take scientific knowledge. It's about unchanging truths like mathematics and logic. 1 plus 1 always equals 2, past and present. The basic rules of logic, the fundamental rules governing rational thinking. Technical knowledge refers to knowledge of creating things, like building a house, making a table, or performing music. Practical knowledge is knowing how to act appropriately, what we call prudence. For example, should you help an elderly person who falls? With prudence, you might perform a good deed. Without it, you could fall into a trap. Clearly, technical and practical knowledge share similarities. Both deal with changing circumstances. This differs from scientific knowledge. An architect can't use the same design everywhere. Each situation is different. The same applies to practical knowledge. Whether to help a fallen elderly person depends on specific circumstances. But they differ in this: technical knowledge isn't an end in itself, but serves to create something. Designers learn design not for its own sake, but to construct buildings. Practical knowledge, however, is its own end, aiming for proper action and virtuous conduct. The purpose of helping an elderly person who fell is simply to help them up. The goal of helping others is to ensure those in need receive assistance. Their purpose lies in making the act itself become virtue. You might argue some people do good deeds not for virtue but other purposes. Such actions can't be called virtuous. Hence, such behavior is often despised because virtue must be its own end. We've distinguished three types of rational knowledge. Now, the question: when pursuing virtuous action, which knowledge should guide us? Clearly not scientific knowledge. It deals with unchanging things, while virtue involves changing circumstances. Then technical knowledge? No, because technical knowledge serves external ends, while virtue must be self-directed. What if we apply scientific or technical knowledge to virtuous acts? Comedian Fang Qingping joked about his elementary school days when teachers encouraged imitating Lei Feng's good deeds during Children's Day. Back then, kids lacked creativity. Helping meant only assisting elders cross streets. Every June 1st, there weren't enough elderly on streets. Kids would drag any senior they saw across roads. Some reluctant elders were carried across by force. Eventually, elders couldn't return home. This became a joke, but it reveals a truth. If we treat virtue as fixed knowledge like math, good deeds become harmful when mechanically copied. What if applying technical knowledge or using virtue as means to other ends? Filial piety is virtuous, but not if motivated by inheritance. No one would call such person dutiful child. Thus, virtue must be its own end. If reduced to technique, good deeds become mere means, losing virtuous nature. To recap, our discussion centers on moral virtue being about moderation. But who provides the standard? The standard can only be provided by reason, which divides knowledge into three types: scientific, technical, and practical. Through discussion, we found neither scientific nor technical knowledge can serve as virtue's standard. Thus, only practical knowledge remains, leading us to the fourth question. What's the relationship between practical knowledge and virtue? Aristotle believed practical knowledge is phronesis, achieving perfect appropriateness in action. Practical wisdom constitutes the essence of virtue. Let's begin our discussion with the two previously raised questions. First, what characterizes practical knowledge? The key difference lies in practical knowledge being inseparable from action. What does this mean? Both scientific and technical knowledge can be learned before practice. We study physics, then conduct experiments, or learn technical skills before application. This separation is fundamental. Why do technical schools require internships? Because learned knowledge must be tested and applied in reality. Here's crucial insight. Theoretical learning and practical application are sequential processes. Except for practical knowledge serves as virtue's standard. Understanding virtue differs fundamentally from understanding physics or technical skills. Knowing virtue inherently means knowing its implementation. This is practical wisdom. Aristotle repeatedly emphasized phronesis as practical excellence oriented toward human good. Practical wisdom understands both what's best and how to actualize it. How does practical knowledge provide standards for virtue? Let's examine a case study. Suppose disaster strikes. People nationwide mobilize support through donations. Donations express compassion, undoubtedly virtuous. But does this hold true universally? Not necessarily. For ordinary donors, contributing 100, 10, or even 1 yuan all demonstrate care for disaster victims. We should applaud this. But if a famous CEO donated just 1 yuan, we'd find it ironic, though donation amounts are voluntary and personal choices. From virtue's perspective, we praise ordinary people's 1 yuan donation, but question CEOs doing same. Conversely, when elites donate minus CEOs giving millions, celebrities 500,000, we commend their social responsibility. If donations become celebrity publicity stunts, motives become questionable. Yet if ordinary person donates 5 million through extreme sacrifice, our first reaction would suspect ulterior motives. Same amount donated, why different perceptions? The reason's simple. Virtue lies not in objective amounts, but contextual appropriateness. Factors like social status and motivation matter. Proper actions aren't judged by donation size, but situational fit. Virtue has standards, not rigid rules, but flexible judgments requiring practical wisdom. This flexible standard comes from practical knowledge. Acting by this standard demonstrates phronesis and virtue. Aristotle stated, practical knowledge means acting appropriately towards right people at right time for right reasons. Some might still find this abstract. Recall Fang Qingping's comedy sketch mentioned earlier. School children know helping elders cross streets is virtuous, but does this mean they possess practical wisdom? If they did, elders wouldn't be stranded away from homes. Practical wisdom isn't just knowing virtues, but implementing them contextually. If pupils possessed practical wisdom, they'd assist elders who genuinely need help crossing streets, not blindly help every senior they see, clearly unwise. Of course, children can't be expected to exercise such wisdom. Truth be told, even adults often act without practical wisdom. There's this friend who's exceptionally good to his younger brother. He spares no effort helping his sibling, generously spending money whenever needed. This brotherly love should be considered virtuous, aligning with traditional values. Yet their relationship remains strained. The younger brother harbors mixed feelings, grateful for paternal-like support, yet resentful of control. Resentment stems from conditional help, imposing behavioral restrictions. I helped you, so you must follow my rules becomes implicit expectation. While brotherly love is traditionally celebrated as virtue, why does this well-intended action damage their relationship? The core issue, love without practical wisdom. Modern parents, similarly, spoil children through unconditional love. Some cultivate bad habits, extreme cases lead to criminal behavior. Why does this happen? Is parental love inherently wrong? Parental kindness and filial piety have been revered virtues in China for millennia, but love without wisdom becomes poisonous. Aristotle thus declared virtue inseparable from practical wisdom. Virtue without wisdom not only ceases being virtue, it risks becoming vice. These examples all demonstrate this principle. We've now outlined the core logic of Nicomachean ethics. Let's conclude with final summary. Aristotle's argument unfolds in four stages. First, establishing hierarchy of goods culminating in eudaimonia, flourishing. Second, categorizing goods into bodily, external, and soul related, equating happiness with excellence of soul. Third stage, dividing virtue into moral virtue and intellectual virtue. Moral virtue achieves moderation, while intellectual virtue provides standards for moral virtue. In other words, it tells us what constitutes appropriate action. Fourth stage, categorizing rational knowledge into scientific, technical, and practical, identifying intellectual virtue as practical knowledge. Practical knowledge's essence lies in unity of knowing and acting. To know virtue is to know its implementation. This is prudence. Thus, practical knowledge provides living standards for virtue, contextual rather than predetermined theories. The book's essence. Happiness as supreme good means living virtuously through rational practice. Virtuous living requires contextual appropriateness, preventing good intentions from causing harm while avoiding exploitation. This isn't instant realization, but a quality cultivated through constant practice. Such quality ultimately makes one prudent. This concludes our exploration of Nicomachean ethics, the path to flourishing. Study notes below. Until next time with another great book.